everyone, and welcome back to the Smart Tea podcast, where we talk about the lives of scientists and innovators who shape the world. I'm Arti.
And I'm her mom, Jyoti.
Happy December, everyone, and welcome back, Mom. You were traveling, you went off to India and everything. How's it feel to be back?
I love being back. It was a good vacation. I was away for 2-3 weeks, and I am truly glad to be back. It's a grueling journey. Door to door, it ends up being a little bit more than 24 hours.
Yeah, because India is like literally on the other side of the world. So
practically, for all practical purposes, yes. So it takes a toll, and the older I get, the worse it is. But I'm truly glad to be back. And I'm glad that at this particular moment, my brain cells seems to be firing and not fogged by jet lag. So
awake.
I am in the mood. I am in the mood for our next episode.
Yes, staying awake. We're going to help you stay awake with a very exciting story today.
Awesome.
Yeah. So actually, this month, December, we have 3 episodes coming out, and I've ended up kind of doing a 3-parter because of that. So
that's a new thing for us.
Yeah. So highly recommend once you listen to this one, stay tuned for the next 2 because they're going to build on this one. And the idea for this, of course, came from my brother, Arun. Every time I put out a new episode, he's always like, when are you going to do the next physics person? And I'm like, that's not
physics.
I'm a
That's just what I need.
Yes.
That's just what my jet lagged brain needs. Some physics.
Yeah, we're going to keep you awake. So I started looking into the name of the person that he wanted me to do. And I was like, well, to understand that guy, you really have to understand the guy who came before him. And so I started looking into that guy. I was like, maybe this can be a 2-parter. And then I was like, well, to understand this guy, you have to understand the guy who came before him. So we're starting like 3 people back.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Is that practically 3 generations then? So that
not quite.
You're spanning physics over many years?
Across maybe like 50 years or so. So it's not quite 3 generations.
So the buildup of a concept over 50 years.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. That sounds exciting already.
And I thought it was even more apt because we are going to be diving into the world of thermodynamics. And I was like, oh, how perfect for December when it's all cold, we can talk about heat.
Yes. Maybe just talking about it might make us feel a little warmer than we feel right now.
Hopefully.
Yes.
So just to note that there are so many thermodynamics people that you've probably heard of that we are not directly talking about in these 3 episodes. So you've probably heard of like James Prescott Joule, William Thomson, who is also known as Lord Kelvin, James Maxwell, Josiah Gibbs, Hermann von Helmholtz. Like we have all of these different scientists that they're titans in this field of thermodynamics. And they some of them make an appearance. But today we are starting with a French scientist who is called the father of thermodynamics. And his name is Sadi Carnot.
Sadi Carnot. Okay.
Sadi is S-A-D-I.
Okay.
And Carnot is C-A-R-N-O-T.
Carnot. Okay. Sadi Carnot. Okay.
He's French. So
got it. So the T at the end is silent. Sadi Carnot. Okay.
I had actually never heard of him, even though he's the father of thermodynamics.
He's the father of thermodynamics, and I hadn't heard of him. These episodes are really turning out to be educational in so many ways.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Although, Arun has heard of him. My brother Arun has heard of him, so of course.
Yes. He has heard of anything that is related to physics. Yeah. Physics, chemistry, he's our go-to guy.
Yes. So Sadi was born on June 1st, 1796 at the Petit Luxembourg Palace. Sadi, as you may have realized, is not really a very French name. He was actually named after a 13th century Persian poet, Sadi of Shiraz.
Oh, wow. So his parents were fairly cosmopolitan in that way.
Oh, yes. We are going to get into his parents, or his father specifically. However, a bit more about his name. When he was baptized, he was given the name Nicholas Leonard Dupont, kind of by accident.
That's a really long handle to be given by accident.
Yes. I don't know where the Nicholas Leonard part came in, but the DuPont was actually his mother's maiden name
Okay.
because
Mm.
they mistakenly thought that his maternal uncle was his father somehow. There was
Okay.
some screw
Okay.
up. So he was baptized under Nicholas Leonard DuPont. And then later on, when you're looking him up, you may find him under the name Nicholas Leonard Sadi Carnot. But he went by Sadi Carnot during his life.
Okay.
So, when Sadi was born, France was going through a massive political and military upheaval. This is the time of the French Revolution.
Mm. Those were turbulent times.
Very much so. And he's born
Yes.
right in the middle of it. Okay, so a quick history reminder of what's happening in France around this time. So in 1792, a radical political group called the Jacobins, which are led by Maximilien Robespierre, successfully abolished France's monarchy and turned France into a republic led by a main legislative body called the National Convention.
Okay.
Maximilien Robespierre headed the Committee of Public Safety, which basically was a de facto executive branch that was in charge of protecting France from both internal threats of rebellion and economic crisis, as well as external threats, since France was at war with so many other European nations at this time.
Yes.
And because of that, they garnered a lot of momentum during the following months, known as the Reign of Terror, as
Yes.
they purged France of political enemies. Over 16,000 people were executed, including, of course, King Louis XVI and his wife, Marie Antoinette.
Yeah. It was a monarchy versus the Republican way of life. And
Yes.
so anybody who was leaning more towards a monarchy, a style of rule, was executed.
Yeah.
Wow. That's truly horrible.
Yeah. It was insane. So the Committee of Public Safety was made up of 12 members. And
Mm.
one of the members was Sadi's father, Lazare Carnot.
Oh, so he was in Robespierre's National Convention. Okay.
Yes, he's
Mm.
in the Committee of Public Safety. And he is a brilliant strategist, both as a military man
Mm.
and a politician. Some history books refer to him as, quote, the organizer of victory.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Okay.
However, although he was part of the Committee of Public Safety, he wasn't officially part of the radical Jacobins that had like overthrown the
Yes.
monarchy. And he quickly became disillusioned with Robespierre and his tyranny.
Yeah, it was extreme. It was
Mm-hmm.
basically he was a terrorist, basically.
Yes. And
Yes.
Lazare Carnot was looking at this and was like, wow, okay, you're crazy, you know?
Yeah, definitely. To get a good sense of the craziness of those times, there are two really good books that bring that out.
Mm-hmm.
One is written in a very romantic style. The Baroness Orczy wrote The Scarlet Pimpernel.
Oh,
And
yeah.
yeah, and then the other one is, of course, Charles Dickens' The Tale of Two Cities.
Mm-hmm.
Both of these really capture the desperation and the utter chaotic, unhinged way that aristocrats were put to death for no real apparent reason. And sometimes it was just little children, because they were born to that lineage, were potentially a threat to the republic because they had royal, quote unquote, royal blood, quote
Oh, that's
unquote,
so sad.
aristocratic blood. And they were
Yeah.
put to death because no, we don't want to have any possibility of monarchy again, that kind
Yeah.
of
No
thing.
road to that. Oh, that's so
Yeah.
sad. That's
And
heartbreaking.
false charges were brought in of political collusion to bring the monarchy back, even though there were simple people there, like they were leading simple lives. They were just buried in poetry or enjoying themselves, just farming and
Yeah.
taking care of their lands and things like that. And yet they were put to death. It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible. Those two books really capture it in a very good way.
I can see that if anybody anywhere was even remotely connected, you might feel
Yes.
like I might be
Yes.
next on the chopping block, literally.
Correct.
So on June 27th, 1794, members of the National Convention decided to overthrow Robespierre. And Lazare and a few other members of the committee who were a bit more conservative helped to arrest Robespierre and his followers. Robespierre was executed a day later, ending the Reign of Terror. But the Committee of Public Safety lost its power.
Yes.
However, Lazare was quickly acquitted of doing anything wrong, so he was safe.
He managed to save his skin.
Yes. That same month, the National Convention started drafting the French Constitution and established a form of government called the Directory. The Directory was made up of 5 members with executive power, with the idea that, quote, this executive will have the force concentrated enough that it will be swift and firm, but divided enough to make it impossible for any member to even consider becoming a tyrant, end quote.
Okay. Trying to have multiple poles of power rather than everything concentrated into one hand.
Yes. Instead of one president, we have 5 presidents.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah. So 5 members of the Directory. And guess who was one of the members of the Directory?
Oh, was Carnot one of them?
Yeah.
Wow.
Carnot.
So he was up there in terms of political power. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
Very, very influential guy. So he served as a member of the Directory until 1797, during which time Sadi was born. In 1797, 3 members of the Directory formed a coup, and Lazare and one other member was ousted.
Okay.
Lazare was sent into exile in Switzerland, but he came back to France when Napoleon rose to power, and he was made Minister of War.
He is a very strong personality then.
Yes.
Very powerful person for those times.
He was huge military politician, like political figure during this time. And Sadi is born into this family that has so much influence over what is happening in France at the time.
Yes. Okay.
But Sadi's like 4 years old now. So
yes.
I found a really cute story that was written by Sadi's younger brother, Hippolyte. And he tells stories of how young Sadi used to go with his father to Napoleon's residence and was put in the care of Madame Josephine Bonaparte, his wife, while Lazare conducted business with Napoleon.
Napoleon's wife is babysitting him.
Yeah. Yeah, basically.
Wow. While the guys are doing their guy things and fighting and coming up with war strategies, Napoleon's wife is babysitting Sadi.
Yes.
Whew.
Yeah. So there was one really cute story where Hippolyte tells the story of when Sadi was about 4 years old at Napoleon's residence, watching Madame Bonaparte and her lady friends at a pond rowing boats. And then Napoleon suddenly appears and starts splashing water at the women.
Just being playful.
Yeah. So Sadi got really mad and shouted at Napoleon, calling him a beast of a first consul, which was...
Oh my God.
Napoleon's title was first consul. So, yeah.
It's like he's protecting his protector.
Yeah.
This is so loyal.
How dare you splash water at this lovely lady's
yes, who's taking care of me.
Yeah. So
that's
really
beautiful.
Funny.
That's
just the
so
cutest
cute.
little story of like this little 4-year-old yelling at Napoleon.
Yes.
Yeah. And Napoleon also thought the whole thing was hilarious. Like, very cute.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
So cute.
Nice.
However, after a while, Napoleon also started to become a bit too power hungry for Lazare's liking. Napoleon crowned himself Emperor of France, which Lazare was not okay with.
Yeah, the whole idea of the Reign of Terror and the French Revolution that preceded Napoleon was that there would be no monarchy, there would be polarization of multiple poles of power. It would be a republic.
Everywhere. Yeah.
Checks and balances everywhere. It would be a republic. And now Napoleon, under the guise of being in the republic, is now becoming a dictator.
Yeah.
Which again is another way of being a bad monarchist.
Yes. And so Lazare didn't agree with Napoleon becoming emperor, and so he resigned from his position. But he kept himself busy, so
Hmm.
aside from being an accomplished military man and politician, he was
Hmm.
also a brilliant mathematician and physicist.
So this Lazare guy is a brilliant war strategist.
Yes.
He is extremely high in terms of political power. In
Mm-hmm.
addition to that, he's a mathematician and a physicist.
Yes. Yeah.
Is oh wow. Oh
All of this
wow.
rolled
And the
into one
fact,
person.
but wait, hang on. And in addition to the fact, in addition to all this, the fact
Mm-hmm.
that he named his young son Sadi
Yeah.
after a Persian poet shows you he has a philosophical bent and he's bent towards literature. So
Yes.
he's basically very well
Very
educated.
worldly. Yeah.
Wow, wow, what
Yeah.
a man, huh? And a peaceful guy. He didn't like
Mm-hmm.
any of these people who were basically being terrorists under the name of a new way of life. And he
Yeah.
didn't like monarchists and he didn't like
Yeah.
dictators. So a very well balanced thought process going on there.
Yes. And I see that theme a lot, like the more
Hmm.
educated you are, the more you see of the world, the more like he was one of those people who had just seen a lot, read a lot, knew a lot. And he was like, what are we all fighting for, guys? Like, work
Yes,
towards peace, work towards something that works in terms of political strategy and power. I agree there shouldn't be one guy calling himself king or emperor or whatever. So let's
yes,
the best way to do it is to have these multiple like you said, poles of power, checks and balances, like, and it's like,
yes.
listen to the guy who knows so much about the world, listen to him.
Yes, absolutely. What path of life would lead to the greater good of the entire society? That's what
Mm-hmm.
he's looking at. And he has the ability to do so because he's so well educated and he's really looked at the world from
Mm-hmm.
multiple angles.
Yeah.
So that's a wonderful gift. What a gift he was to France at that time.
Yes. So once he resigns, he starts working on his math and physics. He throws himself into that. In 1801, he published a paper on geometry, which contains
Hmm.
several theorems, including one that's now known as Carnot's theorem. And in 1803, he published another paper called Fundamental Principles of Balance and Motion, which aimed to explain equilibrium and motion through geometric reasoning.
Wow. Yeah, he's doing groundbreaking
Hmm.
research.
Yes.
Wonderful. Setting the foundations.
But he also used his skills to engineer modified versions of fortification systems to protect garrisons during times of war. So he was
Oh,
also
wow.
using his engineering skills for, more
Very
political
practical
strategies
purposes.
and, yeah, war
Yeah.
strategies and things like
Yeah.
that.
No, France is going through turbulent times. You need to protect
Hmm.
the garrisons. Yes. So he's
Yeah.
using his knowledge for that as well.
Yeah.
A very practical guy.
Yeah. And he's, in fact, such a great mathematician that today you can find his name as one of 72 French scientists with their names written around the Eiffel Tower.
Oh, wow. He is immortalized for posterity there on the
Yes.
Eiffel Tower. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a great honor. What a big name he is. Wow.
So hugely, hugely influential figure. And now Sadi, this little child, is growing up with this remarkable father and all the connections that the family had with all of its advantages.
Yes.
His father actually in 1897 dropped everything to personally homeschool Sadi and his younger brother in science, math, and art and music. So, like we were
Yes.
saying,
He is doing the right thing, bringing up the kids the way he wants it done.
yeah, and teaching them to probably go and look at all these different cultures, literature, and study
Yes,
poetry from
yes.
different places. And
Learn from
yeah,
different perspectives.
yeah.
Yes.
Sadi showed a lot of promise, and in 1812, he was admitted to the Polytechnic School in Paris at the age of 16, which was the
Hmm.
youngest possible age that anyone could be accepted to that school.
Nice.
He was taught by some great names like Joseph Louis Gay-Lussac, who was the one who discovered that water is made of 2 parts hydrogen and 1 part oxygen.
Whoa, what times?
And he did a lot of work on alcohol water mixtures. So I think
Mm.
that maybe if you're a bartender or anything, you might have heard of his
Yes.
name. And then another one of his teachers was Simeon Denis Poisson, who was a great mathematician and physicist. And he was also taught by Andre Marie Ampere, who worked on electromagnetism and is where we get the unit of
Amp.
amps.
Yes, the amps come from ampere. Okay.
Yeah.
This is a guy who has really strong influences in his life.
Yes.
Wow.
Really learning from the cream of the crop.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is absolute privilege, actually. He's growing up in great privilege.
However, things take a turn when in 1814 Napoleon's empire was collapsing because he had faced a few big military defeats, and sensing his vulnerability, the Allied forces of Russia, Austria, Prussia, and the German state Württemberg seized the opportunity to try to take Napoleon down once and for all.
Mm-hmm,
And they
mm-hmm,
invaded France and attacked Paris with the hopes of, getting rid of Napoleon once and for all.
mm-hmm.
Sadi, who's in Paris studying at the Polytechnic Institute, he gathers his fellow students and joins the effort to defend Paris, but they were greatly outnumbered. Lazare, the father, also returned to help Napoleon and was briefly named Minister of the Interior, but it was all a lost cause.
Mm.
And Paris fell on March 31st, 1814. Napoleon was deposed and the monarchy was restored, with King Louis XVIII taking the throne.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we all just went in a big circle here
And back to monarchy.
and back to monarchy.
After
Yeah.
all the reign of terror and everything, it's back to monarchy.
Yeah. But now, because Lazare had thrown his lot in with Napoleon, he was forced into exile in Magdeburg, Germany, where he spent the rest of his life.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Sadi is not exiled. He manages to graduate from the Polytechnic School,
Mm-hmm.
and then he goes on to enroll in the School of Applied Artillery and Military Engineering in Metz, specializing in engineering. He graduated from the 2-year program in 1816 and then joined the French Army's Corps of Engineers. However, because of his family's strong association with Napoleon, Sadi's military career prospects were very limited. He couldn't
Yes.
go far.
Correct. Because now he's a questionable force, basically. It's
Yeah.
like, well, you were with Napoleon. We cannot, your loyalty is questionable.
And so now he's gone from this state of being like in this very highly influential, very powerful family to kind of the opposite. Like he has no
Yes.
power,
Yes.
nobody's willing to give him a chance. He was bounced around various posts to examine fortifications and write reports, but none of his recommendations were taken seriously. So, after a couple of years of not being able to advance in his career path, Sadi decided to take a leave of absence and study to join the General Staff Corps. He passed the exams in 1819 and stayed on call for military duty.
Mm-hmm.
However, he started spending most of his time pursuing his own interests in physics.
Okay.
And he started attending lectures in chemistry and physics at the Sorbonne and Collège de France. Hi everyone, Arti here. I hope you're enjoying the podcast. If so, and you wish someone would tell your science story, I founded a science communications company called SciComm, that's SYKOM, that can help. SciComm blends creativity with scientific accuracy to create all types of science communications content, including explainer videos, slide presentations, science writing, and more. We work with academic researchers, tech companies, nonprofits, or really any scientist to help simplify your science. Check us out at SciCommer.com. That's SYKOMMER.com. Okay, back to the story. Here, as he's learning about things, he starts to become interested in steam engines.
Oh, nice. Yes, the Industrial Revolution is just around the corner.
Yes, it's just started. Steam engines are still relatively new. And in a basic steam engine, how it works is you input heat by burning coal or fuel.
Yeah.
This heat goes to a water boiler, which generates steam, and the steam drove pistons, which did the work.
Yes.
The steam then left the pistons, now at a cooler temperature, traveled to a condenser, which condensed the steam back into liquid water, and this water was taken back to the boiler, and the process is repeated.
Yes. Okay. Steam power.
Yeah, steam power. It was a revolutionary thing.
Yes.
And people started building trains and ships and all these other machines that are now powered by the steam engine. But despite this, no one really understood exactly how they worked from a physics standpoint. They were like, okay, we know the steam is somehow doing the work, but how? How is heat from steam able to do physical work?
Yes.
So Sadi is looking at this, and he proposed that the work that was being done by the engine was a result of the temperature falling when the steam cooled down as it interacted with the pistons. That loss of heat is what is doing the work.
Because the heat that is being lost by the steam is being actually transferred over to the piston. That energy is being converted to the energy that moves the pistons, actually.
Yes. Well, we know that now. He did not know that.
We did not know that. I'm jumping the gun when I say that.
No, because this is really good, actually, because this was so hard for me to wrap my head around, because they did not know about energy or the transformation of energy. They didn't know about that.
Energy can be in different forms. Yes.
Yes.
That concept is not
It's
known.
not there at
and
all.
we are studying, we are looking at that point in the history of physics.
Yes. So
okay,
it was really hard for me to kind of wrap my head around how he came to this conclusion, because it was like, if you don't know that heat has energy, how are you able to make this conclusion that heat's the one that is doing the work? That this drop in temperature is the thing that is driving the work.
Yes.
So it was really, really interesting to kind of try to put myself in his headspace of like, oh, but we don't know about energy, but we don't know about
that's genius to be able to make that connection
somehow. But he did not, since he didn't know about energy, he didn't know that heat was being transformed at all. He actually thought that heat was a separate kind of entity that did the work. It wasn't heat transforming into something. It was heat
itself,
its own thing that was doing the work.
The actual work. Yeah. Yes.
And so actually, he thought that heat was this invisible kind of liquid that existed
inside the steam.
Inside the system, basically. Heat is this invisible liquid called caloric. And this was the thing that was doing the work.
Okay.
But yeah, you were right. It is actually genius that he figured this out. No other physicist had even hinted that it could be this fall in temperature that is doing the work.
Yes.
And he also proposed that the greater the fall in temperature, the more work could be done.
Correct. The differential. Yes.
So with that understanding, he started to think about what the most perfect, most efficient steam engine might look like, because steam engines were and still are very inefficient. You burn tons and tons of coal, and then most of that heat that is generated is lost as waste. It's not,
of course,
put towards doing any work.
Yeah, you can't really transfer it over to making steam. Correct.
Yeah. And so Sadi was like, how do I create an engine where 100% of the heat is used to do work?
Yes.
So he starts digging into understanding the math behind the relationship between heat and work.
Yes.
And he came up with a theoretically perfect heat engine that worked in a reversible cycle, which is now known as the Carnot cycle.
So hang on. Sadi is the one coming up with the Carnot cycle, just for me to get it clear in my head. His father, Lazare Carnot, and he is Sadi Carnot. And on the Eiffel Tower, you have the name Carnot. Which Carnot are they referring to?
It is Lazare, On the Eiffel Tower, I looked into it. On the Eiffel Tower, they're referring to Lazare Carnot.
Okay, but then Sadi Carnot was also a force in his own right.
Yes. So he comes up with the Carnot cycle, and the cycle has 4 stages. So imagine there's a cylinder that has a piston in it, and between the bottom of the piston and the end of the cylinder, there's some gas.
Okay.
So in the first stage of Carnot's cycle, you have a process that's called an isothermal expansion. Isothermal means the temperature is being held constant.
Yes.
So the cylinder that has the piston in it is kept next to a reservoir of heat that is being held at a constant temperature.
Okay.
So now this heat is flowing from the reservoir into the cylinder that has the gas,
Yes.
and the gas starts to expand, and that pushes the piston outwards or upwards, right? Because as the gas is expanding, you're doing work on the piston. It's pushing the piston.
Correct.
This is basically the equation PV equals nRT. They knew about that.
Yes.
They knew this.
Oh, they did know that. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
they knew that there's this relationship between pressure and volume and temperature. And so if temperature is being held constant, when volume increases, the pressure has to decrease. And they knew
Okay.
that's how it's working.
Okay.
Heat is added to the system, temperature remains constant, volume is increasing because the gas is pushing the piston outwards.
Yes.
So then in step 2, we have what is called an adiabatic expansion. So adiabatic now means that the cylinder is insulated, so no heat is allowed to go in and out of the gas.
Okay. Okay.
And it's an expansion. So the gas keeps expanding. It keeps pushing the piston outwards because we had that constant temperature. Volume is increasing, but pressure has to decrease in order for the temperature to be kept the same. And so for that to happen, for pressure to decrease, you have to push the piston out even more.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So no heat is being added in step 2, but pressure is decreasing. And this also causes the gas to cool down. Okay?
Okay.
So then in step 3, we have an isothermal compression. So again, isothermal means the temperature of the cylinder is being held constant.
Okay.
Now, though, the gas is at a slightly cooler temperature than when we started.
Yeah.
So a reservoir of a cooler temperature is being held near the cylinder.
Okay.
And now the reverse of what was happening in step 1 is happening in step 3.
Yes, the release now.
Yeah. So before we were using heat to push the piston outwards and do work. Now we're doing work to push the piston back inwards.
Yes.
So when that happens, it starts to squeeze the gas.
Yeah.
But temperature has to
increasing.
be constant. Yeah.
Yes.
But temperature has to be constant. So if pressure is increasing, volume has to decrease.
Yes.
Right?
Correct. Correct.
And now heat is going in the opposite direction into the
into
reservoir.
the reservoir. Yes.
Yes. And then finally, step 4 is called an adiabatic compression. And it's essentially, again, the reverse of what happened in step 2. So the cylinder is insulated, so no heat can enter or leave.
Yeah.
The piston keeps on squeezing inwards,
increasing the pressure.
Yeah. And that increases the temperature of the gas. And then we're back to step 1.
Yes. So it circles back to step 1. Got it.
Yeah.
All right.
So
yeah.
That's his cycle. And it's important to remember that this is a purely theoretical idea.
Yes. Because how would you actually design a system where there is no loss? Even with the best of insulation and everything, you don't have a system where there is no loss of heat and there is no loss of pressure and all of that.
Yeah, and there's friction and all this other stuff. Yeah.
All this other stuff going, so many other forces in play.
So somehow or another, heat's going to leave or, it's not going to be as efficient. So this is very theoretical. And even today, like with this knowledge, knowing about Carnot cycle and everything, our most efficient heat engines are only 40 to 45% efficient. So less than half of the heat that we put in is actually turned into work.
Being converted into work and all that. Wow, the 50% waste. A
Yeah,
system with
more
50%
than.
waste of energy.
Yeah, but now that we have this ideal, this theoretical ideal that Carnot has come up with, we can
Yes.
use it as a standard to judge the efficiency of heat engines because now we know what a 100% efficient engine in theory would look like.
What can be done in
Yes.
theory. Yes.
The other reason that the Carnot cycle is important is because it introduced the idea of reversibility, that if we could ignore and get rid of things like friction and heat loss, then the processes in step 1 and 3 are exactly reverse, and the processes
Correct.
in step 2 and 4 are exactly reverse.
Right. So back and forth, the idea that it can go back and forth, the whole
Yes.
transfer of energy, or in this, well, they don't know the idea of energy yet, but
Yeah.
the concept of work going back and forth. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So you have this perfect machine that works in a never-ending cycle, and you could either use it as a heat engine where you put in heat and you get out
Yeah.
work,
Yeah.
or you could use it in the reverse direction as a heat pump by putting in work and getting out heat.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah.
The reversibility between the two, heat and work. Yes.
Yeah. So that was another big concept that, he laid the
He
foundation
laid the
for.
foundation for that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Sadi, at his own personal expense, published this theoretical engine in a short book called Reflections on the Motive Power of Fire and Machines Fitted to Develop That Power. And he published this in 1824. Unfortunately, though, his paper was largely ignored during his time. There are a couple of reasons, maybe, for why. The first was that his writing style wasn't very accessible to the STEAM engineers who might have actually done something with
Okay.
it. It was very math heavy, a lot of theoretical proposals and, nothing very practical that could be
Yes.
used directly. And secondly, Sadi himself was a very introverted man. He didn't
Hmm.
like publicity, and so he probably wouldn't have pushed it very far either.
So it's not reaching its targeted audience, really speaking.
It's not reaching his targeted audience, and he's also not making a big fuss about it.
Okay.
He's
Yeah.
also not trying to.
This is more about
Yeah.
his own personal quest.
Yeah. Because I think we're both actually the same way. Like, if we want people to know about something, we tell the person who we know is an extrovert and then let them
Yes.
go run
Let
off
them
and.
go publish
Yeah.
the thing. Yes.
Yeah. But he wasn't even doing that. He wasn't really
Yeah.
apparently one of his rules of conduct was, quote, say little about what you know and nothing at all about what you don't know, end quote.
In fact, it reminds me of another great physicist, Dr. Feynman.
Oh, Richard Feynman.
Yeah. And there's a beautiful clip on YouTube about him saying how he won the Nobel Prize, by the way. And
Yeah.
he said, the Nobel Prize is not the real prize. The people honoring you, that's not the real prize. The real reward for your work is that discovery,
Mm-hmm.
that pushing that boundary, finding out something new. You did something that allowed you to find out something new, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the reward.
Yeah.
Then whether people recognize you for it, whether they honor you for it, none of it
Mm-hmm.
matters. It's all about the actual discovery that I found this out. And now we as humanity know something more about this process than we knew
Yeah.
before my work. That's the
Yeah.
reward. That's it. That's it.
That takes a very big person, because I know if I made some discovery, I'd want everybody to bow down and
Yes.
be like, yes,
Yes.
yeah,
No, but
I'm
those
the one.
those those
Yeah.
are the people who truly love science.
Yeah. Those are the great ones. Those are the
And
ones.
yeah, and the fact that this discovery helps humanity, that is their reward.
Very much like Charles Goodyear we were talking about, where he
That's
just,
right.
gave away his patents, gave away his licenses, and was just like, as long as it helps people, I'm happy enough.
That's right. That's right. That's their reward.
Hmm. Unfortunately, though, Sadi did not live long enough to see his work recognized. So he quit his job in the army in 1828, which left him without an income or a pension.
Hmm.
Presumably, he continued to work on steam engines. There's one hint that says that in 1830 there was a directory of alumni from the Polytechnic School in Paris that was published,
Hmm.
and it lists Sadi as a maker of steam engines.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So that's like really the only clue that we have as to what he was up to after he quit the army in
Hmm.
1828.
Yeah.
And then in 1832, Sadi contracted scarlet fever and was
Hmm.
sent to a sanatorium just south of Paris. And although he seemed to be getting better, Paris was then struck by an epidemic of cholera.
One disease after the other. That is hard for the body to withstand.
Yes. And unfortunately, he could not. So within days of contracting cholera, Sadi passed away on August 24th, 1832.
Hmm.
He was only 36 years old.
Oh, that is so young.
Yeah. And even more unfortunately for us, for the world, because he had died of cholera, his possessions were considered contaminated, and so most of his notebooks and mathematical papers were destroyed.
No way.
Yeah. And
Oh
so we
no.
actually
Oh no.
lost a lot of his, genius and his thoughts that were
Oh my
probably
God.
in those papers.
Oh my God. So a big loss for humanity then.
Yeah.
Sadi's death in two, three ways. The fact that he died so young, the fact that he was an introvert, so he didn't publish his work, and then the fact that his disease caused the people surrounding him to destroy everything that he had.
Yeah. So he did publish his Carnot cycle, that
Yeah.
steam engine. He self-published that. And actually, the only reason that we really know about Sadi Carnot today is because, fortunately, 2 years after his death in 1834, a classmate of his from the Polytechnic School named Paul-Émile Clapeyron translated Sadi's work from French into English
Okay.
and
Okay.
published his own book on heat engines that referenced Sadi's work. So by the 1840s and 50s, Clapeyron's translation of Sadi Carnot's work made its way into the hands of some budding physicists, including William Thomson, aka Lord Kelvin, at the
Hmm.
University of Cambridge. This is, of course, before he became known as Lord Kelvin.
Okay.
William Thomson refined and expanded on Carnot's works and coined the term thermodynamics, which encompasses
Okay.
the study of the relationships between heat, work, temperature, and energy.
Nice. Nice.
And so that is why Sadi Carnot is often called the father of thermodynamics. The guy, William
Nice.
Thomson, who coined the term, actually was inspired by Sadi Carnot's work.
Yes. And drew his understanding of the field from there. Yes.
Yeah. Sadi's work also made its way into the hands of a young German physicist named Rudolf Clausius.
Hmm.
And that is who we're going to be talking about next episode. So
Oh,
stay tuned.
I can't wait. From France to Germany. Okay.
Yep.
This is beautiful. This is beautiful. In spite of all the political turmoil, power switching hands back and forth between monarchy, republic, dictatorship, and all that, science is
Mm-hmm.
still there, going
Science is moving
strong.
on. Yep.
Science is moving on, and truly critical things are happening right at
Yeah.
the cusp of the Industrial Revolution. A wonderful story, a foundational story. I
Part
can't
one.
wait for part
Part one.
two and part three. I can't wait for
Yes.
it.
Yeah, it's going to be
Yes,
great.
yes. December is going to be a fun month.
Yeah, hopefully it kept you awake through your jet lag
Oh,
and
yes, absolutely. This was,
yeah.
yeah, because I had to have my brain cells firing. Yeah,
Yeah.
physics is not my forte. So I had to kind of be right on top of it.
I think you got it. I think you got it. I also
Thank you.
tried to make it very easy to
No, you
understand,
you
although
you are a
yeah.
wonderful storyteller. You break down really very complex topics into understandable bites, which I really appreciate.
This one was a little bit easy because it was like we don't have to get into all these like really crazy kinetic energy, potential energy kind of things.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
don't have to go into that because he didn't know about that. But then at the same time, it's
But
really
that's the
hard to
foundation.
understand his, yeah, it's really, that's how we're taught it right from the beginning. And
Yes.
so it's really hard for me to understand how he came up with some of these things
Yes.
without knowing this. I'm like, how do you...
that's the genius mind, right? That leaps from this complete known to unknown. That requires a genius. It's not that methodical plodding that goes on in most cases. This is like a true leap of faith, a true leap of creativity.
So come back for part 2 in 2 weeks.
Yes, yes. We'll be visiting Rudolf Clausius in Germany next. Perfect.
Thanks for listening. If you have a suggestion for a story we should cover or thoughts you want to share about an episode, reach out to us at smarttpodcast.com. You can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky at smarttpodcast, and listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. And leave us a rating or comment. It helps us grow. New episodes are released every other Wednesday. See you next time.